I want to talk about like gun control.
Gun control.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So I know, like, you know, we have a Second Amendment. We're like protected owning like firearms.
Yes.
As a gay person, I often fear of like retaliation, hate crimes. I've actually been mugged a few times. I'm wearing stuff that may not seem as normal as this.
Okay.
What can like we do from like a Second Amendment perspective to like help bring people into like the fold of like gun ownership in order for like self-protection?
Yeah, I think that's a thoughtful question. I mean, like I think, I mean, if you've been mugged and everything, like, I'm sorry that happened to you. The gun's the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that people like you need to speak up and be like, look, if you think you're going to be terrorized or you're going to be hunted, like, a gun is a moral right to be able to defend yourself and your liberty, right? And your family or your people you love. I mean, I suppose it'd be a better question for you, right? Like, what do you think that a majority of gay people are pro guns or anti? I'm just curious. Like,
mostly anti-gun.
Why do you think that is? I'm just curious.
I think it's a lot of like liberal identity politics. How can we like bridge that like disconnect?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that, look, I don't think gun ownership should be political. I don't. And like, this is one of the arguments I always make for like BLM people, right? It's like, if you think you're getting hunted down, then like responsibly own guns, right? But there is a fear around gun ownership in America. I think it should transcend, you know, sexual persuasion or skin color, right? I think it's a moral right for all people, especially if you think, I mean, especially women who are, you know, potentially at a physical disadvantage from defending themselves, right? And I mean, you got mugged a couple times. I don't know if the person who mugged you is a man or woman, I don't know. But like, if you were in a situation where you're physically disadvantaged, like a firearm could equalize that, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty like out there take.
Is it taboo, like tactic almost?
Yeah, like I'm very like, no, go for it, like get into a girl. And it's also just kind of like not really, I don't want to say like frowned upon, but just kind of like, whoa, that's a bit much from like someone like me. But I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I want to encourage you, like, don't let that get to you.
I'm much more like pro gun ownership and like Second Amendment type of thing.
Yeah, okay. And that's because of necessity, like basically what happened, like what happened to you? Or
yeah, but also just more of like, you know, community defense, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think people should be like shooting each other on the streets or like dueling.
I don't support that obviously.
I know,
yeah.
But like, it's definitely something that I think that like a lot more like LGBT people should really take into account, just to protect ourselves and like some people.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. Like, I mean, if you believe you're being targeted or you're in a marginalized position, like, that's what the Second Amendment is partially there for, right? I mean, one of the reasons. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you because you're like a very big like political person. So
yeah, I would just kind of take it from a moral argument too, right? Which is like, if you believe, like, who are you going to trust to defend yourself? That's what I would take, right? So it's like, if you trust, do you trust the police, which obviously is not a big thing around here, right?
Yeah.
Do you trust, like, you know, someone that you think will hurt you, then the moral argument of the Second Amendment is that you should be responsible for your own autonomy and your own, you know, your own safety, right? There's other reasons too, but.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thoughtful question. I do not believe that semi-automatic rifles should be banned at all. So that's the first thing. But your Australia example, violent crime actually increased. So you have to look at the entire ecosystem of crime, not just mass shootings, because mass shootings actually account for a small percentage of all gun-related deaths in America. They get the most amount of media attention. They get the most amount of sadness and thinking. But they actually contribute to a small sliver of the percentage of all gun-related crime. Do you know what the biggest part of gun-related crime in America? Anyone? Suicides. So you know 66% of that 33,000 figure about gun crime is suicides? You know we're the only country in the world to count death by suicide as a gun death. So all of a sudden you remove that, we have 11,000 gun deaths every single year. It's a lot less than 33,000. So the gun advocates say, oh, confiscate the guns because of 33,000 gun deaths every single year. Well, technically that's true because of how we calculate the data. It's very, very deceiving. I would argue that's more of a mental health issue and a systemic cultural issue than it is an actual vehicle, the gun. So I have 11,000, but 300 to 500 of those 11,000 are accidental discharges, are people that are at shooting ranges, they're in their basement, and they die because of a firearm that they were mishandling or that they weren't handling properly. 300 to 500 a year. So that goes down to 10,500. About another 500 out of that is actual warranted means of self-defense. So it still counts as a gun death, but it's not murder. If someone walks into your house with a battle axe to kill you, and you kill that person with a pistol, that's a gun death. It's not a murder. Big difference. That's a rightful means of self-defense. So you get to there, it's about 10,000. 90%, I'll repeat that, 90% of that remaining 10,000, 90% is with handguns in urban areas and gang-related violence. 90%. Now, what drives gang violence? Is it the weapon itself? Of course not. It just isn't. It just isn't. In Chicago, look at it. It's 20 square blocks where you have the most failing public schools, where you have the most broken families. The police are really not, they're not welcome culturally in a lot of those areas. And I always find it interesting that in the gun control debate, when the statistics are that heavily slanted in that direction, immediately when something bad happens, the first thing that is said is somehow I have to give up my weapon because I did nothing wrong. Because I do it responsibly, I manage it properly, I store it correctly, I obey the laws, and it's my fault. I have to give up a weapon because some lunatic did something that had nothing to do with what I did. I completely and totally reject that.
That's a very interesting one, listening to Charlie Kirk, of course, talking about the Second Amendment. But to be honest with you, I would like to disagree with Charlie Kirk when it comes to this Second Amendment, because to me, I feel that when everybody, owns a gun, I don't think, it is right because of liberty, then people, should own a gun in the name of protecting, themselves. I feel that when people, owns a gun, it shows that the government has failed in its responsibilities to protect, the people, and that is the reasons why they want to protect themselves, because it's the primary responsibilities of the military to protect the country from any external aggressors. But then the United States may not be actually, in a war with any, country at the moment, except in proximity. But we can't, say that people, should be carrying gun in order for them to feel safe. Government should have that responsibilities of protecting, every individual or every citizens of the United States. Now, because of some of these reasons, that's why you see most times, of course, we could hear about school shooting. Some of these things, happen and souls are being lost. So should we continue in that very context to see people, dying in the name of they want to have the liberty in order for them to carry gun? No, it does not make sense. I just feel that in this kind of situation, in the schools, they should have this kind of trained guard that can be able to carry some of these guns, or should I say ammunition, in order to protect some of these children who are in the schools. Look at the situation whereby you could have more than 5 or 10 people carrying guns, to the school in order for them to feel safe. At that point in time, imagine that they have a disagreement. At that point in time, innocent people can get murdered, in the process. So that is why I am saying that the primary responsibility of safety of every individual in the United States should be done by the government. And then that's why we have the police, that's why we have the military, and that's why we even have the sheriff, and then the rest of it. It would be better for them to handle when it comes to those kind of security situation. Else, otherwise, some people could be suffering from depression and anxiety, and then you could see people, carrying gun either by using it to commit suicide or to use it, against innocent people. So imagine that people are not allowed, to hold this gun. Then at that point in time, people could be safe. And then that's the reason why even in the third world, you don't even see people, using guns, but just some few countries that you see them, using these guns. So for me, I feel that government should be responsible when it comes to innocent people holding guns. I think that individuals should not, own a gun. And then if you look at it, just like how Charlie was talking about accident, over 50,000 people, have accidents. Should we ban people from driving? Of course, we are not saying that we should ban people, from driving, but of course, couple of things need to be considered why you see there's accident and all those things. Sometimes it could be as a result of overspeeding. Sometimes it could be as a result of people not obeying the traffic light. Sometimes it could be as a result of people driving when they are not up to 18. Such innocent situation could lead to some of these accident, right? And then there are things that of course that we are not happy about it, but then people only gone. I think that is very expensive, and I think that it should be a responsibility of the government to protect every individual. Just like how you heard that very college student, even though he might be of the left supporting Kamala Harris, but nevertheless it does not mean that everything they see it is wrong. Of course I support President Donald J. Trump, and then that is why I love his appointment. I love how he appointed Tom Homan, and then we are all happy about it, because we believe that there are policy that he is going to implement, and then he is going to protect innocent people from entering into the country illegally. Some of us are very happy with some of these appointments. So I think that this should even be one of the things that maybe probably that he should reconsider, and then why not try and then let's see how the country could be if guns are banned, or the people, or it just takes about you explaining to the people and make them understand the dangers of owning it, and then for them to willingly submit some of these guns or whatever in the police stations or whatever means in which the government can decide to design, and then therefore we see how the country is going to be. Nonetheless, it's still up to the majority, or should I say to the House, for them to decide whether they feel that this could be a good idea or not. But I know that a lot of you have thought an opinion concerning this, and I want you to drop it at the comment section, and may God bless you as you do so. So this is the end of my video. If you like my reaction, should like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section, and I'm going to check it out. So you remain blessed, and I see you in my next video. Goodbye.